They laughed at her wheelchair until she dropped the school's top bully without even standing up. The first time Zariah Coleman rolled through the double doors of Pine Brook Middle School in Madison, Wisconsin, nobody said a word, but everybody stared. It wasn't loud, not at first. Just that weird kind of silence that hangs when people don't know what to say, so they say it with their eyes. That's what Zariah had grown used to. People's faces telling on them, the double take, the "is she okay" glance, the confused pity. Her mom had tightened the straps on her backpack that morning and said, "Baby girl, just go be you. Don't let him make you small." Zariah nodded, not because she agreed, but because she was tired of pretending to argue. She had cerebral palsy, and her wheelchair was an extension of her body, the way glasses were to someone else's eyes. She hated when people acted like she needed saving. She didn't. She just wanted to go to school, pass math, maybe find one person who didn't talk to her like she was 5. But today, she could already feel it. This place was going to be just like the last 2, maybe worse. The secretary, a tall redhead with tired eyes, directed her to her homeroom, room 208. Zariah rolled in halfway through the morning announcements. The teacher, Mr. Blevins, paused and smiled too wide. "Class, we've got a new student today. Say hi to Zariah Coleman." It was the kind of awkward hi that makes your skin itch. She nodded toward the class, trying to smile a little, then wheeled herself to the desk already pushed to the corner. Of course, separate. She looked around and saw that none of the other desks had been moved, just hers. That's when she saw them. The crew that would later become the reason she dreaded third period. Kylie Baines, all pink and smug, twisted a strand of blonde hair between 2 fingers. Braden Clements, varsity jacket and dumb laugh, leaned in to whisper something to Connor Reese, the one with the narrow eyes and fake sympathy face. The 3 of them watched her like she was an episode of a show they didn't like, but couldn't stop watching. Zariah kept her face blank. That was her trick. No expression, no reaction, no satisfaction for them. The day dragged. She got stuck trying to open her locker until a kid named Omar helped her out. He didn't say much, but he smiled with his eyes and didn't flinch when she bumped into him accidentally. That made her feel normal. Almost. But by 7th period, she already knew this place wasn't built for her. The water fountains were too high. The bathroom stall doors opened the wrong way. And every teacher had that tone when talking to her. Slow, careful, like she was delicate glass. She was exhausted by the time she got to the front steps after the final bell. Her mom's SUV wasn't there yet. She sat waiting, scrolling through nothing on her phone, when she heard Braden's voice. "Yo, you see her arms? Like little noodles." He wasn't even trying to whisper. Kylie laughed like it was the funniest thing she'd heard in weeks. Connor added, "Maybe she's solar-powered. Gotta charge up in the sun." Zariah stared straight ahead, pretended they weren't there. But her ears burned, and her jaw clenched tight. What they didn't know, what she didn't even fully remember, was that once upon a time her grandfather used to train her hands. Movements, breathing, awareness. She thought it was just playing, but deep inside, it was something else. Still, in that moment, she didn't think about that. She just waited for her mom, quiet, still, but that was only day 1. Things were about to get worse before they got any different. By Friday, Zariah had already memorized the school layout, not by choice, just survival. She knew which hallways had ramps instead of stairs, which doors stuck, and which bathrooms to avoid because the soap dispensers were out or the mirrors were covered in phone numbers and Sharpie insults. But what she hadn't mapped yet was the people. The way they moved, the way they grouped up like packs. Every school had its tribes, but here, in the far edges of suburban Madison, those groups felt tighter, colder. Like anyone outside the circle got iced out on purpose. She kept to herself. Head down, roll fast, stay quiet. Still didn't work. It was 3rd period when it happened again. She was unlocking her locker, combination 32-18-7, a number she muttered under her breath like a prayer, when Kylie bumped into her on purpose. "Oops," Kylie said with a fake gasp. "Didn't see you there." Zariah didn't flinch, didn't respond. She'd learned long ago that silence was the only defense that didn't give bullies ammo. Kylie leaned down, real close, whispering like they were best friends. "You know, you'd probably be cute if your mouth didn't twitch like that when you talk." Zariah blinked at her, then turned away and kept opening her locker. Braden laughed from a few feet away, fake sympathy dripping from his voice. Yo, that's messed up. Don't make her cry, Kylie. Connor followed up, loud enough for kids across the hall to hear. She don't cry. She's like one of those dolls that just blinks. Zariah grabbed her English textbook, slammed the locker shut, and wheeled off before they could finish whatever joke was coming next. Her heart was pounding. Not from fear. She was used to that part. It was something else. A burn, something in her chest she hadn't felt in a while. That afternoon, she tried to talk to her mom about it on the drive home. Her mom was sipping iced coffee, focused on traffic. They're just being kids, Zariah, she said, glancing at her in the rearview mirror. You know they don't understand you, but they will. Just keep being you. Zariah wanted to scream. Instead, she said, I don't want to keep being me, if being me means being nothing to them. Her mom didn't answer right away, just drove a little slower. Then she said quietly, that's the thing. They don't get to decide who you are, and you're not nothing. Don't ever believe that, Z. Zariah nodded, but she didn't believe it. Not yet. Monday came. Same jokes, just louder now, same stares, just longer. She stopped eating lunch in the cafeteria. Too many eyes, too many people trying to help her when she didn't ask. She started going to the library during lunch. Ms. Wren, the librarian, didn't talk much, and that suited Zariah just fine. She'd roll into the back corner, pull out one of the graphic novels, and escape into panels where the heroes always had some secret edge. A power, a weapon, a voice. She wished she had one. The thing is, she kind of did. She just didn't know it yet. It started to come back one night when she was in the living room, half watching TV and half daydreaming. There was a scene in the show where the main character blocked a punch, just like that, quick and clean. And Zariah's hand twitched. She didn't know why, but her arm moved like it remembered something before her brain caught up. A quick parry, elbow turn, weight shift. She looked down at her arm like it had betrayed her. She hadn't thought about Grandpa Jalen in months. He'd passed last year, heart complications. But before that, before things got bad, he used to play with her. That's what she always called it, play. She sat on the floor in the garage and he'd say, okay, Z, eyes on me. Breathe. Now if my hand goes here, yours goes here. He made it fun, like a game. Never called it martial arts, never said it was training. But now, sitting on the couch with her fingers curling just like his used to, she started to wonder, could it be? But she wouldn't really understand what he left her until the moment came, and someone made the mistake of pushing her too far. The cafeteria at Pine Brook smelled like ketchup, old milk, and microwave regret. Zariah hadn't eaten there in nearly a week, but today she forgot her library pass in her locker, and Ms. Wren had already closed the door before she could roll up. That meant she had to face it, the jungle. She scanned the room. Tables were filled by type. Athletes, drama kids, band kids, the awkward, quiet bunch, and the TikTok crowd with ring lights built into their phone cases. Not a single open seat that didn't feel like it came with strings. She found a corner near the vending machines. A small circular table with no one around. Good enough. She quietly unpacked her peanut butter sandwich, set her juice box beside it, and pulled out her headphones. Maybe if she looked occupied, they'd leave her alone. That worked for about 5 minutes. Then she heard the tray slam onto her table. Hey, Kylie's voice had that syrupy tone. Didn't know you were still attending classes with the rest of us. Zariah didn't answer. Kylie pulled out a chair, sat down uninvited, and stared at her sandwich like it offended her. Is it true you live in some kind of, special group home? She asked loudly, glancing around to make sure people were watching. No, Zariah replied flatly. Kylie leaned in, pretending to whisper. Because I heard your grandpa used to be some kung fu janitor or something. That true? Zariah looked at her, this time really looked. He was a martial artist. A real one. Braden and Connor appeared behind her like a bad joke in 3 parts. Braden dropped a milk carton right next to Zariah's juice box. So what, you gonna kung fu kick me from that chair? The table nearby laughed. Zariah didn't. She didn't cry either. That's what bothered them most. You know, Connor added, maybe if she could walk, she'd actually fight back. But I guess being a wallflower's easier when you're bolted to wheels. That stung. Not because it was true, it wasn't, but because it was calculated. Like he knew that was the exact thing to say that might break her. Zaria's hand clenched under the table. She could feel her fingers tightening the way Grandpa Jalen had taught her. Curl inward, center your body, stay calm. But she stayed still. Kylie reached across the table, flicked the edge of Zaria's sandwich off its wrapper. Oops, she said again, all mock innocence. Zaria wheeled back slowly, picked up her food, and dropped it in the trash. She didn't give them the show they wanted. She never did. But something had changed inside her. Something was boiling that no sandwich, no fake smile, no shrug could cool off anymore. That night, she didn't go straight to her room when she got home. She went into the garage. The light was dim, but she could still see the old punching bag hanging in the corner. Dusty, unused. Still had the initials JC scrawled on the bottom in faded marker. Jalen Coleman. Her grandfather's ghost lived in that space, in the air, in the way she remembered his voice. Balance isn't about your legs, Z, he'd said once. It's about your breath, your mind, the part of you that don't wobble when people push. She reached for the bag with one hand. Then she struck it. Once, the chain shook. She struck again, faster this time. She didn't realize she was crying until her vision blurred. But it wasn't sadness. It was something else. Rage. Remembered confidence. The body remembering what the brain had been forced to forget. And suddenly, she wasn't just Zaria in a chair anymore. She was Zaria, granddaughter of Jalen Coyote Coleman, Midwest Regional hand-to-hand champ 3 years in a row. She didn't just have a past. She had training, discipline, a weapon no one could see, but power means nothing until the moment it's tested, and hers was coming faster than she thought. The gym smelled like old rubber and sweat, a smell Zaria actually didn't mind. It reminded her of when she was little, spinning circles in her chair while Grandpa Jalen shadowboxed in the driveway. The man never raised his voice, but when he moved, the air changed. He was poetry without a pen. Zaria was only in the gym because Coach Hadley made everyone rotate through recreational free play, which was code for, we don't have enough equipment, so make it work. She kept to herself, like always, parked near the bleachers, watching the others shoot hoops, fake fight over dodgeballs, scroll TikTok. She felt eyes on her. She always did. Braden and Connor were near the water fountain, whispering. Kylie wasn't far, sitting on the bench with her phone out, definitely recording something or someone. Zaria looked down at her hands, still, calm. Coach Hadley called for a quick stretch break. Students sat along the floor, some half listening. Then it happened. Braden, loud as ever, walked straight towards Zaria with Connor right behind him. His voice carried. Hey, yo Z, you ever try shooting a basketball? Or is that off limits too? Zaria didn't answer. He grinned, stepped in closer. Come on, you want to play, right? Don't you want to be part of the class? Connor added. You just sit there all day like a traffic cone with Wi-Fi. A few people laughed, not everyone. Some looked uncomfortable, some looked away, but no one stopped it. Coach Hadley was distracted tying a net near the back wall. Braden leaned in closer, too close. Hey, watch this, he said to Connor. Then without warning, he reached for the side of her chair. Let's see if she's got any airbags. He grabbed the handle and started to tip her back. That's when it happened. Time slowed, just a little. Zaria didn't plan it, didn't think. Her body reacted before her mind could catch up. Her right hand shot up, grabbing Braden's wrist with surprising force. Her left wheel locked. She shifted her weight, pivoting the chair with a sharp angle, throwing Braden's balance off. He stumbled forward. Before he could get his footing, her forearm pressed against his shoulder and guided him down. Not a shove, not a punch. A movement, a redirect. Braden hit the floor. Hard. Gasps erupted. Someone dropped their phone. Connor backed up with wide eyes. What the hell? Zaria stared at her own hands. She didn't hurt him, not really, but he was on the ground, blinking, stunned like a toddler after falling off a swing. Braden scrambled up, furious, red-faced. Yo, did you just flip me? What the hell was that? Coach Hadley finally noticed, jogged over. What's going on over here? Braden pointed. She grabbed me. She threw me. She defended herself, said a voice. It was Omar, the quiet kid, the one who helped her with her locker weeks ago. Coach looked from Braden to Zaria. Is that true? Zaria didn't speak. She didn't have to. The silence said enough. Omar stepped forward. He tried to push her chair. She stopped him. More kids began murmuring, nodding. The tide turned in real time. Kylie stopped recording. Coach Hadley, to his credit, didn't play neutral. Braden, principal's office. Now. What? I didn't even touch her. Coach raised a brow. Want me to play the gym footage? Braden stomped off, Connor trailing behind him like a deflated balloon. Zariah stayed still. Her hands were still warm. Her chest heaved. Not from panic, from control. For the first time, maybe ever, she'd taken the hit before it landed. Omar looked at her. Where'd you learn that? She gave the smallest smile. My grandpa used to say, move like water, don't get rocked by it. Omar blinked. Your grandpa sounds cooler than mine. She chuckled softly. Yeah, he was. But not everyone in the room liked what they saw, and some were already planning what to do about it next. That night, the story had already started to spread. By the time Zariah got home, her phone buzzed with 3 texts from classmates she hadn't even spoken to yet. Yo, that was wild. You flipped Braden like it was nothing. Why didn't you say you knew karate? Did you really study with some secret sensei or something? Zariah didn't reply. She set the phone down and stared at the ceiling. The weight in her chest was different now. Not heavy, not tight. Just there, full. Like something that had been buried was finally breathing again. She wheeled into the garage. Same punching bag, same space, but this time she moved with purpose. Strike, pivot, control, flow. It wasn't just muscle memory anymore. It was him, Grandpa Jalen. She remembered how he'd sit behind her in his old folding chair, bare feet on the mat, beard grizzled, eyes kind. CZ, he'd say, guiding her wrist. The world ain't got no soft spots for folks like us, so we make our own. That don't mean fighting everyone. It means knowing when not to. At the time, she didn't get it. She was only 9. Her hands shook sometimes. Her legs wouldn't do what she wanted. But he never pitied her, never slowed down. Instead, he'd lay out padded gloves, say, "You ready?" And she'd laugh and nod, not even knowing why she loved it so much. Now she knew. He'd seen something in her that she couldn't see in herself. Yet. She kept training all week after school, not because she wanted revenge, not because she had something to prove, because it made her feel whole. At school, though, things shifted in weird ways. Some kids were curious. Others were suddenly scared of her, like she'd been bitten by a radioactive spider and might go full superhero on them next. Kylie kept her distance, but whispered louder when Zariah passed. I heard her grandpa taught prisoners, like, in prison. Makes sense, right? Zariah didn't respond, didn't need to. Even the teachers looked at her differently. One asked if she needed emotional counseling support after the incident. She just blinked at her and said, no, but maybe Braden does. Then there was Omar. He sat next to her in the library now, sometimes just quietly sketching in his notebook while she read. You ever think about teaching someone that stuff? He asked one day. Zariah tilted her head. Teaching? He nodded. I mean, you don't gotta stand up to teach someone how to defend themselves. She thought about it. She liked the idea, sort of, but it still felt weird, like it wasn't hers yet, like she was borrowing someone else's story. But then, that Saturday, her mom knocked on her door holding something wrapped in an old pillowcase. Your grandfather left this for you, she said softly. Told me not to give it to you until the time was right. Zariah unwrapped it slowly. Inside was a folded G, black, soft, worn in. The collar stitched with the initials JC and the word stillness sewn along the bottom edge. Her throat caught. There was also a letter. His handwriting was shaky but firm. Zariah, you are not broken. You are not less. You are more. The world might not see it now, but you will. And when you do, teach someone else. That's how we stay alive. She read it twice, then held it to her chest. It was never about fighting, it was about knowing. And now she did. But knowing doesn't stop people from trying you, and one more test was waiting just around the corner. That night, the story had already started to spread. By the time Zariah got home, her phone buzzed with 3 texts from classmates she hadn't even spoken to yet. Yo, that was wild. You flipped Braden like it was nothing. Why didn't you say you knew karate? Did you really study with some secret sensei or something? Zariah didn't reply. She set the phone down and stared at the ceiling. The weight in her chest was different now. Not heavy, not tight. Just there, full. Like something that had been buried was finally breathing again. She wheeled into the garage. Same punching bag, same space, but this time she moved with purpose. Strike, pivot, control, flow. It wasn't just muscle memory anymore. It was him, Grandpa Jalen. She remembered how he'd sit behind her in his old folding chair, bare feet on the mat, beard grizzled, eyes kind. "CZ," he'd say, guiding her wrist. "The world ain't got no soft spots for folks like us, so we make our own. That don't mean fighting everyone. It means knowing when not to." At the time, she didn't get it. She was only 9. Her hands shook sometimes. Her legs wouldn't do what she wanted. But he never pitied her, never slowed down. Instead, he'd lay out padded gloves, say, "You ready?" And she'd laugh and nod, not even knowing why she loved it so much. Now she knew. He'd seen something in her that she couldn't see in herself. Yet. She kept training all week after school, not because she wanted revenge, not because she had something to prove, because it made her feel whole. At school, though, things shifted in weird ways. Some kids were curious. Others were suddenly scared of her, like she'd been bitten by a radioactive spider and might go full superhero on them next. Kylie kept her distance, but whispered louder when Zariah passed. "I heard her grandpa taught prisoners, like, in prison. Makes sense, right?" Zariah didn't respond, didn't need to. Even the teachers looked at her differently. One asked if she needed emotional counseling support after the incident. She just blinked at her and said, "No, but maybe Braden does." Then there was Omar. He sat next to her in the library now, sometimes just quietly sketching in his notebook while she read. "You ever think about teaching someone that stuff?" he asked one day. Zariah tilted her head. "Teaching?" He nodded. "I mean, you don't gotta stand up to teach someone how to defend themselves." She thought about it. She liked the idea, sort of, but it still felt weird, like it wasn't hers yet, like she was borrowing someone else's story. But then, that Saturday, her mom knocked on her door holding something wrapped in an old pillowcase. "Your grandfather left this for you," she said softly. "Told me not to give it to you until the time was right." Zariah unwrapped it slowly. Inside was a folded G, black, soft, worn in. The collar stitched with the initials JC and the word stillness sewn along the bottom edge. Her throat caught. There was also a letter. His handwriting was shaky but firm. "Zariah, you are not broken. You are not less. You are more. The world might not see it now, but you will. And when you do, teach someone else. That's how we stay alive." She read it twice, then held it to her chest. It was never about fighting, it was about knowing. And now she did. But knowing doesn't stop people from trying you, and one more test was waiting just around the corner. 2 weeks after the gym incident, Pine Brook Middle felt quieter, not silent, just different. Zariah still had her chair, still had the same jerky gait in her hands, still had to wedge open the bathroom stall with her elbow, but what had shifted, finally, was the way people looked at her. Not pity, not curiosity, respect. It didn't come all at once. Respect never does. Some kids still whispered, still stared, but this punchline stopped. The jokes dried up. Even Kylie avoided eye contact now, pretending like none of it had ever happened, like she wasn't just weeks ago trying to turn Zariah into a TikTok punchline. The real shift came during Friday assembly. Principal Monroe stood on stage with her usual awkward smile and a stack of notes. "We'd like to highlight a few students for acts of courage, leadership, and integrity," she said, reading from a card. Zariah's name came first. Her heart stopped. "Zariah Coleman," the principal read, "for showing strength, self-control, and bravery under pressure. You've reminded us that true power doesn't always shout. Sometimes it moves quietly." The room clapped. Not just polite claps, real ones. From people who didn't even know her name a month ago. She didn't smile. Not big, but her chest swelled, and her mom, sitting in the back row, wiped a tear so fast you'd miss it if you blinked. Later that day, Omar caught up with her by the library. "So, Coach Hadley was asking if you'd be down to help lead a self-defense workshop next month," he said, "for kids who feel, I don't know, small." Zariah raised an eyebrow. "Me? Lead?" "Why not?" he said. "You're kind of famous now." She smirked. "Nah, I'm just finally being seen." That afternoon, she went home, pulled the GI from her closet and held it in her lap. Still smelled like cedar and oil. Still felt like him. Like Jalen Coleman was standing right behind her, nodding. She slid it on over her hoodie, rolled out to the garage, faced the bag. Strike, control, flow. Then she did something she hadn't done before. She wheeled back, grabbed her phone, set it on a stand, and hit record. Not for likes, not for clout, but for the girl who might be out there right now, in a chair of her own, thinking her body was the problem. She looked straight at the camera. "My name is Zariah Coleman. I have cerebral palsy. I use a wheelchair. I was bullied, mocked, ignored, and I'm still here, stronger now, because someone believed in me. Because I remembered I didn't need to stand up to be powerful." She paused, then added, "If they laugh at you, let them. Just know one thing. They don't get to write your story. You do." She ended the video, uploaded it, and went back to training. No big announcement, no hashtags, but it didn't need any of that. The message had already landed. The following Monday, a sixth grader she didn't know rolled up beside her at the vending machines. Same model chair, same tight grip on the wheels. "Are you the girl from the video?" the boy asked shyly. Zariah looked over. "Depends. You like it?" He nodded fast. "Yeah. You made me think maybe I don't have to let people mess with me all the time." She smiled, for real this time. "You don't. You just have to know where your power is, and never give it away." They fist bumped, rolled off in opposite directions. The world hadn't changed overnight. But Zariah had. She wasn't a symbol. She wasn't a victim. She wasn't a punchline. She was a fighter, a teacher, a girl with fire in her hands and calm in her chest. And the next time someone looked at her and saw weak, that was their mistake to make. If you're watching this and you've ever felt overlooked, underestimated, or judged for something you can't change, remember this. You are not less. You are not invisible. Your strength might look different, but it's real, and it's yours. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Let's keep showing the world that power doesn't always look how people expect.